Hi everyone, I'm Zoey from Boston. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist at Boston Children's Hospital, where I help kids overcome their physical challenges. My story is about how my father's new wife tried to tear our family apart, but karma had other plans. Ready for your session, Henry? I ask, adjusting the therapy equipment as my 8-year-old patient grins at me. Moments like these make my work so rewarding. Watch this, Miss Zoe. Henry beams, taking 3 steps without his walker. I clap enthusiastically. That's amazing. High five, buddy. His laughter fills the room, and I can't help but smile. Later, I meet my best friend Amy for coffee at our favorite spot near Boston Common. Your mom would be so proud of you, Zoe, Amy says, stirring her latte. It's been 3 years since mom passed, and the ache hasn't faded. But I smile through it. Dad's been my rock, I say. Speaking of, he's coming to dinner tomorrow. How's he doing, living alone in that big house? Amy asks. Actually, I pause. He's been volunteering at the community center. Says it keeps him busy. The following week, Dad calls, sounding unusually cheerful. Zoe, I met someone, he announces. Her name's Evelyn Williams. She runs the center's fundraising committee. I'm happy for him, truly. Mom would want him to find joy again. But things start moving too fast. Evelyn is always around, her presence growing like ivy on the walls. One evening, I stop by Dad's house unannounced. Zoe, what a surprise, Evelyn says, opening the door like she owns the place. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Inside, I notice something off. Where's Mom's crystal vase? I ask, pointing to the empty spot on the mantel. Oh, that old thing. It was collecting dust, Evelyn replies dismissively. I put it somewhere safer. Dad emerges from his study. Evelyn's been helping reorganize, he says, oblivious. The house needed updating. I bite my tongue. 3 weeks later, over dinner, Dad drops the bombshell. Evelyn and I are engaged. Her kids, Madison and Jack, will be moving in next month. My fork clatters onto my plate. Engaged? Dad, you've known her for 6 weeks. When you know, he replies dreamily. Evelyn's amazing with finances too. She's helping me reorganize my investments. Red flags wave in my mind, but Dad's too smitten to notice. That night, I text Amy. Something's not right about Evelyn. Already on it, Amy replies. Michael's cousin works at the community center. Guess who's been fired from their last 3 jobs? I stare at the message, my stomach churning. This is just the beginning of uncovering who Evelyn really is. The changes come swiftly. Evelyn hangs abstract art where Mom's cherished garden photographs once were. James, where should we put my antique mirror? She asks sweetly. Whatever you think is best, dear. Dad replies absently, barely glancing up from his laptop. During dinner, Madison whines, I need a MacBook Pro for my projects. The one I have is so old. Of course, sweetie, Dad says, reaching for his credit card. I nearly choke on my water. Since when is Dad this loose with money? Speaking of expenses, Evelyn adds, her voice honeyed. James, I've been reviewing our accounts. Zoe's medical school fund is just sitting there since she chose a different career path. We could invest it in Madison and Jack's education. I freeze. Dad, that was Mom's inheritance money. Now, Zoe, Evelyn interjects. You're established in your career. Madison and Jack are just starting out. Dad nods absent-mindedly. Evelyn knows about these things. She's helping secure our family's future. The next week, I call Dad about our tradition of helping with the hospital fundraiser Mom started. It goes straight to voicemail. Later, as I scroll through social media, I froze. Evelyn had posted pictures of Dad at the fundraiser, an event we had always attended together. He was smiling, posing with Evelyn and her kids like they were a picture-perfect family. A text buzzed in from Evelyn shortly after. Your father thought it best to avoid any awkwardness. You understand, don't you? I didn't reply. Thanksgiving arrived and I showed up early, as always, ready to help cook. I held Mom's sweet potato casserole just like I did every year, but when Evelyn answered the door, her expression was one of exaggerated surprise. Oh, Zoe, didn't you get my message? We moved dinner to 2 p.m. Everyone's finished eating. Stunned, I stood in the doorway as the smell of roasted turkey and spiced cranberry sauce filled the air. Through the dining room window, I saw Dad laughing with Evelyn's entire extended family. "There are some leftovers in the kitchen," Evelyn said sweetly. "You can eat in your old room if you'd like some quiet time." The words stung, but I said nothing. That night, restless and fueled by suspicion, I logged into Dad's email. He'd never changed the password Mom set. What I found made my blood run cold. Investment statements showing large transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. The next day, I showed the documents to Amy. Her face darkened as she pulled up her research. "She's a professional con artist," Amy declared, sliding a stack of printed records across the table. "Look at these court filings. 3 different families, Zoey, same exact pattern. She marries wealthy older men, isolates them from their children, and drains their accounts." Michael joined the investigation, his voice tight with anger. "My cousin at the community center said Evelyn was asking about your dad's finances before she even met him. This wasn't random." I started documenting everything: the missing family heirlooms, the unexplained account transfers, and Evelyn's increasing control over Dad's life. But every time I tried to confront Dad, Evelyn was there, always one step ahead. "James, I'm worried about Zoe's obsession with our finances," she'd say, her voice dripping with concern. "My therapist friend says this behavior often stems from unresolved grief. Maybe she needs professional help." Dad looked at me with pity. "Honey, I know losing your mom was hard, but Evelyn's family now. Try to let go." What Evelyn didn't realize was that I wasn't about to back down. I had 3 things in my corner: stubborn determination, friends in high places, and a very interesting email from her ex-husband's lawyer. Game on, Evelyn. The email led me to Mia Roberts, a former coworker of Evelyn's at Morgan Financial in Chicago. We met at a quiet cafe in downtown Boston, where she slid a thick folder across the table. "Evelyn Williams isn't her real name," Maya said, her voice low. "She's Evelyn Blackwood. And she's have 4 other last names, too." The folder contained everything: termination letters, police reports, and photos. Evelyn had worked at 3 major financial firms, each time leaving under suspicion of fraud. "She targets wealthy widowers," Mia explained, leaning closer. "By the time they realize what's happened, the money's gone. Check your father's retirement accounts." That night, I opened Dad's old laptop, which he'd left at my place months ago. My heart pounded as I accessed his retirement portfolio. What I saw was devastating: massive transfers to an offshore account. Over $2 million had vanished in just a few months. As I helped Henry navigate another therapy session, my phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "You need to see this. Jack just got expelled from Bradford Prep. Dad paid $50,000 to keep it quiet." My heart sank as I typed back. What happened? "He hacked the school's grading system and sold test answers. Madison was involved, too," Michael replied. This wasn't just about Evelyn anymore. It was unraveling into a full-blown disaster. Determined to uncover the full truth, I dug deeper into Evelyn's past. The stories I found followed the same chilling pattern: whirlwind romance, isolation of the spouse, financial drain, and eventual disappearance. One story stood out: Robert Chen in San Francisco. A man who had escaped her clutches. We connected over video chat. "She almost destroyed my family," Robert said, his expression grim. "She had access to all my accounts, transferring money daily. My daughter discovered it, just like you. But Evelyn's clever. She manipulates her victims into feeling too ashamed to press charges." The next day, Dad called, his voice hesitant. "Zoey, Evelyn thinks it's time we update my will. You understand, right? Madison and Jack need security." My stomach dropped. She was almost at the finish line. But Evelyn had made a critical mistake at her previous job at Boston Capital Group. I contacted their head of security, Ms. Miller, who responded immediately. "We've been building a case," she said. "Evelyn Blackwood's activities fit a pattern, and we're investigating multiple victims across 5 states." I provided all the evidence I had: bank transfers, Mia's files, and the documented behavior patterns. Ms. Miller connected me with FBI agent Sarah Martinez, a specialist in financial crimes. "You're not alone," Agent Martinez assured me. "We've linked her to over $15 million in fraud, but we need fresh evidence." That weekend, I noticed Evelyn's brand new luxury car. The dealership paperwork, conveniently left in Dad's office, confirmed my suspicions. As I photographed it, Evelyn appeared in the doorway, her smile icy. Looking for something? She asked coolly. Just Dad's old fishing photos, I replied evenly, though my heart raced. Evelyn stepped closer, her voice lowering. Let me make something clear. Your father signed everything over to me, his accounts, this house. He doesn't need you anymore. Back off, or I'll make sure you never see him again. I met her gaze, unwavering. You know what's funny, Evelyn? Con artists get so focused on their schemes, they forget to cover their own tracks. Her confidence wavered slightly. What she didn't know was that her assistant had already tipped off Agent Martinez, who now had access to all of Evelyn's incriminating activities. The dominoes fell the following Tuesday morning. During Henry's therapy session, my phone lit up with Michael's text. It's happening. Evelyn's been detained by the FBI at her office. Simultaneously, agents raided our family home. They uncovered evidence of a sprawling financial fraud operation, including attempts to transfer our family home into her name. Dad sat in shock, holding shredded documents the agents had pieced back together. I've been such a fool, Zoey, he whispered. You were right about everything. The next day, headlines blazed. Financial advisor arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Families from Seattle, Chicago, and San Francisco came forward. Madison and Jack, it turned out, had been living with their real father in Arizona. They weren't even in high school but working as Evelyn's accomplices. The FBI recovered most of Dad's money, thanks to Evelyn's assistant's meticulous records. 6 months later, I stood on stage at Boston Children's Hospital, accepting the Reynolds Award for Excellence in Pediatric Therapy. In the audience, Dad smiled proudly. Slowly but surely, we were rebuilding our relationship. At Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner in my downtown apartment. Amy brought her famous apple pie, Michael recreated Grandma's stuffing, and Dad brought Mom's sweet potato casserole. As we raised our glasses of sparkling cider, Dad toasted, to the family we choose and the ones who choose us. I looked around the room at the people who stood by me during the darkest times. This was real family. Meanwhile, Evelyn faced 25 years in federal prison with no chance of early release. What would you have done if you discovered your parents' new spouse was secretly stealing their life savings? Would you quietly gather evidence like I did or confront them immediately? Share your thoughts in the comments, because knowing you're not alone is the first step to fighting back.